Alrighty, welcome back. We're on air, and I'm your man, Bad Chad, and this front end has consumed me. I'm staying on it until I get it where I want to get it. The front end went in nice. I cut the outside pieces off last time you seen. I cut the outside pieces off. We set it in there. It was nice, but it did not come down very much. It came down maybe an inch, half an inch, and I want to lower the car probably 5-6 inches or better. The tires that are on it probably are the things that give it, the downward motion on it, the inch that we got. But what's going on right now is I want to modify the chassis to make the front end work and to lower the car at the same time. When you seen it last, we had these pieces right here. These pieces were on the inside of the chassis. This one on this side, it was on the inside of the chassis, and then we had another one on the other side. I'll grab it and show you. We found a mouse house. There was a mouse house in the house. This one was on this side, in the inside of the chassis, and that one was on the inside of that chassis. And what we did is we cut them out, made one straight chassis, so it looked a little bit better. A lot of work to cut that stuff out. It doesn't happen in seconds. You watched it. It takes time to figure it out and go for it. I left the front cross member there. I've got the chassis straightened out on either side. You can see where I got all the pieces cut off. But this is what me and Aiden figured out after we shut the video down. The front end fits good. The motor fits good. I'm not getting the ride height that I want to get. I'm not going to modify the suspension in it. I'm not going to do that. I want the full suspension. I'm going to modify the chassis to make the suspension work the way I want it to work. When this come down, when the chassis come down, when the chassis come down, it come on this part of the frame, and it was sitting up a little bit. I don't want that. I want it to sit in the sweet spot, and the sweet spot's right where the mount was. There's a little flat spot right here where the sweet spot is for the mount of the engine, and over there just a little tiny bit. So what me and Aiden figured out, we're just playing around, grabbed some square stock. I laid the square stock on top of the chassis exactly where the chassis is. I used the chassis to make the new frame is what I'm doing. Is I'm using the new chassis. I put a bolt or a nut on the chassis here, a nut on the chassis there, same all the way around. I modified the width a little bit, and what I mean by modified the width a little bit, so when we bring the chassis down, we'll be able to weld a bracket on the side of this chassis, and we'll be able to bolt it up to the original mount itself. Basically, we'll weld a mount on the side of that, bring it down, and weld onto that. When I ran this piece back, I ran it in the sweet spot of the cross member of the Jaguar. I ran it in the sweet spot so it laid on the flat and still worked. So what I did is I just spot welded the nut down. I got myself 3 1/4 on this side, 3 1/4 on this side, 1 1/4 up here, and 1 1/4 up here, all the same length all the way around. So I'm using the chassis to modify and make a new chassis. I'm not laying it on the floor and trying to square it all up. No, I'm using the original chassis and I'm welding to that. I just tacked it there. You can see the bottom of the chassis is going to be the piece that hits the subframe of the Jaguar. So if we take a measurement, we're going to be going down probably at least 5 inches. So the bottom of this is going down there. Also, this tubular chassis or the square stock is going to go down in the sweet spot of the cross member that we have. So it's going to go down a little bit better and fit a lot nicer. I've pinched it in a little bit because it sits nicer. Basically, I don't want to take all the time to clean all this stuff off the outside, all the stuff on that side, and I just want to make it work. So basically, this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take, I'm just simplifying it. I'm going to make the chassis on top of the chassis, weld it to this chassis, and then I will come in and relieve the old chassis, cut the old chassis off in the front, relieve it, take it off, and then I can let this down on the new K-frame. I've got my mounts right here. I know where they're at, so I might even weld a piece right to that, cut them off and weld it right to that, because that's exactly where they go. Nothing is changing. Only thing is changing is this cross member is coming up higher. That's the only thing that's changing is the ride height. Nothing else changing. I'm going to put the original mount back in the front. I'm going to put The original mount is going to stay on the chassis there. I'm just going to modify. I'm going to C-channel, actually. I'm going to C-channel. I'm not going to C-channel. I'm just going to up it and out straight and let that come up cross member. So this is what I'm doing. I got this just tied down easy, welded it there so it didn't take off anywheres. I got some square stock. I might as well move this right out of the way right now. Kind of in a little bit of a rush. I want to spend some time with Jolene, my queen Jolene. I want to spend some time with her. Kind of got in the motion to get this done, and I'm going for it. Going for it. All right, that's going to fall. Not sure if I can get it out. Anyways, get that out of the way. Well, it's going to stay right there. Nope, I can get it out. Look at that, would you? So we know that fits underneath there. We know that fits underneath there because we already had it in there. Didn't get the ride height that I was wanting. So this is what I'm doing. I put a chassis on top of the chassis. I'm going to build it right here in front of your very eyes. I'm going to get a marker. So we cut the inside out here because it wasn't very nice, that's all. And I'm going to keep on cutting. And I just spotted it on top of the chassis. I'm going to make this. I'm just going to trace this. I'm not going to make any special angles. I'm not going to special anything. I'm just going to cut a piece and make it work wherever it works the best. This had to come back far enough when I put this on here. It has to come back far enough that I missed this. I couldn't cut it off here and then come down and hit that, so I had to come back a little ways. So I got past the rack and pinion. That's what I did. And I'm going to do this. I'm just going to put that there. I'm going to do a little tracing, like I always do. Should have something. I could have used a clamp, but why not just hold it tight and say it's right. I'm going to have a little extra. It's going to be a little bit long. Just trying to get this. This is going to be a little bit long when I cut it off. And that's okay. And I'm also going to put a gusset in it. It's going to have a gusset in it. It's not going to be strong enough. Just, it's not going to be strong enough. I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this up some so it fits at the bottom. Looks good. I'm going to draw that there. I'm going to there we go. That's my piece. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to try to cut it with a plasma cutter. Not going to try, I am. Probably could use that yellow square, wouldn't be a bad thing. But if I have gap, I'll use it for penetration. I'm going to grab it with the hay. Yep. Thanks, baby. Jolene looks amazing today. Always. Looks amazing always. Looks good. Just trying to get the mark on there a little bit better. Let's turn this bad boy on. Got it plugged in. Get some air rocking and rolling. Just going to use this, try to keep the noise down. It's hard on the Jolene, try to get rid of all the noise that I put on. Hard to see. Hot. It is hot. Super hot. Super hot. Just like Jolene, super hot. Super hot. Just kind of wondering. That's gonna go up there. I gotta make a mark. I'm going from there up to the corner. The other side I cut a little different. This is going up on, so I think I'm gonna be okay. Thanks for the gloves, sweetheart. Okay, so this is 8th plate on there. I had 3/16 plate going along here. This is what I had. Got looking around for metal. I'm using what I have. It's 1/8 plate. That frame is no thicker than this 1/8 plate. And that's what I'm doing. Top, bottom. Now on the top, this kind of is too long. When you angle it, it goes too long. So what I think I'll do is when I get it on there, get it welded on there, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to relief or cut some out of it, and whatever's left I'll fold it down over, see what happens, see if it see what I can do, but I'll weld it up here, and whatever's left, I'll deal with it after I weld it on. So this is what I'm going to do right this second. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and I'm going to make another one. That's what I better do. And a baby, I'm going to use 2 of them. I better do it. I've got a little flapper wheel right here. They call this Midnight Auto. Midnight Auto. Trying to get rid of some of the noise, but I got to use something. Going to be welding it. I think I want, well, I know I want good penetration, so I want to clean that weld and clean that up. I guess that's what I'm doing. That's the angle right there. That's good. I got enough for 2 pieces. And I went around the yard hunting for this, and I found enough to do it. 3/16 and 1/8. Ba, ba, ba. Hard to see sometimes in that rusty metal. Oh, yeet, yeet. Let's do it. Pushing the plasma cutter so I can see the line. I can see the line when I push it, so I can't see it when I drag it. Come on. Good gloves. Now let's check them out and see if they're the same. Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Alrighty. This is what I want to do, is I want to put this piece in, put it in the chassis, and weld it in there. Babe, what do you think? We'll go to have coffee tonight after this and maybe spend some money off Henry's Tim Hortons card? Thanks, Henry. Appreciate it. We appreciate it, don't we, baby? We always do. What I'm trying to do is just to know I got that fit in that chassis. Take a mark. My marker. Oh, I want to go down. See that? Damn near went down. That would have hurt. I better slow down, hadn't I? Damn near went down. That would have hurt. That baby laughing at me. Yes, it would have, wouldn't it? Yes, it would have. It would have hurt. What's that? Nope, I got it. I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to pick up my fat legs and get over that thing. Alrighty. Maybe I can do this. Nope, that's not going to give me the line. That'll give me the line. Just want to put a line on there where I'm going, just holding that flat. Just put a line like that. I got my piece here. I got that at the bottom of the chassis. It looks like it's going to line up there. So I'm going to mark this. I'm going to go over here like this. Alrighty, so I got this marked on the top side. So this is what I think I'm going to do, is I'm going to cut this out here, cut along here, cut along here, slide this piece over, weld it to this, weld it to the bottom of the chassis, and weld it to this edge. So there's 3 edges that I'm going to weld to. I'm going to have to do a bunch of capping off. This outside is not going to look so good at first, but it will in the end, because we'll do something to it to make it look good. Basically. We'll do something to it to make it look good. And all that takes is using the old brain every once in a while. When it come time to when I put the front end underneath of it, me and Aiden took a little bit of time to think about what's going on. And basically I wasn't, it's narrower in the front and wider in the back. Didn't have an angle finder or anything like that. Do not have a plumb or level table that I'm going to clamp it all down to. Did not have that, so we just come up with the idea, let's put little shims on the chassis and weld the square tube to the chassis, because the chassis is square. We'll measure off the chassis and go like that. So basically that's what we did, and it went fairly good. So now I'm just going to cut this out. Bum, bum, bum. Nice straight line. I'm just going to cut it right along the edge of the bottom of the chassis. some more of this off. Hard to get at. Doesn't much matter what it looks like there, that's all coming off. And we have that there. Let's get this line, got to get this line over a little bit further. Looks good on there, looks good down there. Just want to knock this line over here a little bit. Get my finger underneath there. You can be pretty precise with one of them bad boys if you want to be. That's for sure. Fits there nice. We'll toe it up there nice. Like I said, we'll do something there so it's right. Let's weld that bad boy in there. So basically what's going on is I'm using the chassis to modify the chassis and hold everything in place. I haven't cut anything off, I haven't moved anything, haven't bent anything, haven't done anything to disturb what's going on. So now I am using the chassis to do what I need to do, and that is make a new one. So I'm using the old one to use the new one. So I'm using the old one for a jig to make the new one. And I suggest you do the same. You would never want to cut your chassis, well, you do as you please, but I like to make sure that I use the chassis that I have and do the adjustments that I need, and then cut it off. If you're doing, say, you're doing a C notch on your rear end, I would not cut my frame off and then put my C notch on. No, I generally would not do that. I would put my C notch on first and then cut out the chassis. And basically that's what I'm doing with the front here. I'm doing the exact same thing. And I'm using the chassis as a jig. Want it to fit nice. Any gaps are for penetration. So do not fret. I've got a little tightness. I'm going to have to run the, I want that gap. I want to make sure that it's, let's change it this way and see if we have any difference, see if there's such thing as the top or the bottom. No, looks pretty good on both sides. Want gap. I got a little spot over here. I'm going to knock off that plasma cutter just a little tiny bit. Let me in a little further. Let me in a little further. Ah! We're hard up against there. I just want to get over a little bit further. Let's do it again. Big gloves on. Got the tip on it, or got the guard on it. which sometimes hinders you. Sometimes. Trying to do this just as quick as possible. All right, that looks good. A lot more than that. Do I want more back there? I'm just taking a look at it. Trying to fit it in the very best spot. That's all I'm trying to do. Flush there. Not down there is not. Still, we're good now. Don't like that gap right there. Is that? That's fine. One spot, it's holding it for you. That's not a bad gap. It should be more though. I'm gonna walk this on. Doing one spot at a time, there's quite a gap there, and I want it to look good. So I'm just doing one dot at a time, not burning through. That's not a bad gap there. It could be a little bit more, but see what happens. I might even take the zip cut and go through it and do it again. This little bit, finish this little bit. See, I got a gap like that. I'm not going to start in the hole. I'm going to start on top, halfway on top of the weld I just done, and that way there I can have something to start with. A lot of welding there that went in nice. And two, where this is all tied down to the chassis, it's not moving around because it's held down by the chassis, and that's a good thing. I'm going to come over here and lock this one in, and then we'll put that one in on that side, and we basically could cut. Got two little tabs there. We could cut and let it free. We could something took off, or I felt like something moved. Did you hear that? Don't take much. That side didn't move off, did it? I don't think that side would have moved. Putting that little spot on her. Try and make sure that didn't move off. I don't think we're all right. Alrighty, I'll get let the heat gut off that one for a bit. What I'll do is I'll take that V out of that, take a V out of that and put that down, and we'll beat that down over top of that one, see what happens. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this side going, do the exact same thing. So in the end, we're just going to cut it off down here, we'll cut this side off here on the angle like that, and then we'll fill it in so it looks good. Their best it can anyways. Alrighty. Going to move this bad boy. Going to try not to get burnt. What I mean by burnt is lean back on that. It probably wouldn't feel the greatest. Hope that didn't lift off. There's no gap underneath, that's good. I can feel the heat coming from it, I can tell you that. Just gonna draw a line. Gotta get my other piece. What I'm going to do when I put this piece in, I'm going to investigate. What I mean by investigate, I always do this, on everything I do, is I investigate on how far we are from this piece right here. There's a piece welded on here. There's a piece welded on this side in the exact same spot. There's a hole there. There's a hole there. They're welded on the exact same spot. And what I'll do is I'll just eye that distance up there and try to put that thing on the exact same thing, try to make the exact same, and it looks good. And there it is right there. Cut that over. That should fit in there. Any luck at all. Trying to keep the noise down, but it is what it is sometimes. And we'll gusset it, if we have to gusset it, we'll make sure that we put gussets in it or whatever we have to do to make it strong enough that it allows for, that we feel safe with the engine and all that stuff going in it, and the front end laying on it. Let's get real. That's what we do. That's what we do. Make sure it's safe And gussets, when I think of gussets, I think of triangles. You can see the distance here and the distance down there, just trying to make them somewhat the same. Da, da, da. Stay up there, come on. Work with me, work with me. Work on that. These gloves sometimes are a bit. Alrighty. Get that up there a little bit. What do I got going on here? Cut the line. A little bit down here too, actually. Need to come off. Tight fitting. Whew, whew, whew. Get a little careless on that one. Come on now. When I get it in there, it's going to be right loose. I know it. Watch, sweetheart. See what happens. There we go. Don't want to get it too loose. Beautiful. Holy rattling. I'm going to get a hammer, just, well, let's turn it upside down and see what happens. Keep it tighter. Man, that's some good cut. Watch yourself, sweetheart. I'm going to take it a little more out of this. Little couple sparks on you. That's not the one I want, is it? Whew! I thought I'd give myself some more room, but guess not. All right, let's make this work here. Oh yeah, beautiful. Take some off down here. That's it right there. That's the girl. That's my baby. We'll just turn that welder on there, sweetheart. That looks fantastic down there. I'm gonna we're down just a little bit on that one too. There's a little bit down on that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Jolene is. She's beautiful. I'm gonna go with it. Stay with it, baby. Stay with it. Oh, good. Good. All right. Awesome. Getting in some old greasy stuff, I guess. Probably should have cleaned it up a little bit better there. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm going to grind that back just a little bit, because what's going to happen is if I don't grind that back a little bit, it's going to be like a weld that's sticking out that's not penetrating good. Eat sparks for breakfast, I do. Eat sparks for breakfast. Ground must be off. Where is my ground? It is. It's off. I'm going to take this one off. Alrighty. Just hold off that for a second. It's probably plenty hot. Just want to look around, see everything's. Huh. We heard that noise. This is the one that right here. Let's put her back down on. Good. Glad I caught it. Just put that back down on. It's nice and tight again. I'm going to I'll do a little weld on this side. I'll cut that out, lay that down on top of that. What I'm going to do first though is, this is what I'm going to do. Reciprocator saw, or not reciprocator saw, but zip cut. I got this side over here if you want to come take a look. I'm going to do both sides actually. Down in here I got a nice gap. Down there I got a nice gap going on. I really like that gap. But right here, if I start putting a piece of weld on that, I'm not going to have much. Go to the other side and do the exact same thing to the other side. I want a gap for penetration. That's why I don't mind if, you know, the plasma cutter, I got a little bit, you know, a gap going on. Well, you need that gap for strength. Now, as you take a look at this and what I'm doing, anybody can do this. You do not have to have a pen and a paper and do a mathematical, scientific measurement. All I did was put a piece of metal up there, or a piece of square stock up there, put it where I want it. I traced it, I cut it off, and I welded it on. Like pretty basic stuff. There's no need to go get pencils and markers and measuring tapes and all that sort of stuff. I cut two pieces of square stock the same. I held them in place where I wanted them, and I traced them. That's all I did. So if I can do it, you can do it. I am not doing anything fancy here, but you can see as I got that welded, when I get that welded in there, I'm just going to come along here and cut this off. And that chassis is going to fall off. And I'm going to have a brand new chassis to ride on top of my new suspension. With much of nothing. Other than a welder and a little bit of common sense. If you want to complicate it, you go right ahead. Basically what I'm saying, if you want to complicate it, you go right ahead. And welder's probably up a little speed, a little high. Slow down. Alrighty. Just going to skip back to the other side, try to keep the heat down, I guess, as I weld that on there. Do this outside piece.
Going to get my ride height
With full suspension.
Stop spitting. I'm a welder a little too close sometimes. Got my glove hot. Had her smoking.
Had her smoking. Man, I put a bumblebee on that one. Oh well. A little bit on this side.
A little bit more of a gap on this side. This side will sink down in better. Then you probably can go back and forth and look at either side. This side will look better than the other side because this side's got more of a gap, more of a place for the weld. And on this side we had about an 1/8 gap, and on the other side there's probably a 1/16.
Let's do a comparison. Look at that weld right there. There's about an 1/8 there. You can see that one, how it's really nice and laid down in there. We'll look at the other side. We'll go take a look at that side, and it looks like a bumblebee. Not saying it's not penetrated, it's not heated on, not welded up good. What I'm saying is there was less gap for penetration, and it kind of, I got like a bumblebee, like it's kind of a lot of meat going on there, and there could have been a lot less meat if I would have had more gap. It would have laid in just a little bit better like this side. I've got this to weld up. What are we in for now, right now? Hour 3. It would be nice to see it flop off, but we can do it in a whatever. Basically, I've got a little bit more welding going on. I've got these brackets that are right here. What can I say? These brackets right here, I'm just going to add something onto this, bring the bracket. This is the brackets for the front end, because the brackets for the front end are not going to change in any way. So that's where they are. That's where they're going to be. The only difference that we're going to have is that the suspension is going to come up on the bottom of this instead of bottom of this, and it's going to fit in the sweet spot where it's flat, right here, not over here on this bump. It's going to fit over here, basically. I'm going to That's not going to go anywheres. I could weld a piece on that and cut that off right in front of your very eyes. Let's do this. Let's cut these out and make these work. Just so you know. It's almost like them things you see on the internet where the people cut the metal with the grinder and then something magical happens. So basically I'm just going to cut over to the flat, cut down like this, and then beat that over. And then something magical is going to happen. Don't know if I quite got it cut perfect. Remember, we like gap. So basically, I'm going to grab a hammer. I'm not going to be silly and try to jump out of that and lift my legs up, think I'm some young buck, because I'm not. I can put it down in there, so probably put it down. I don't mind the piece flopped over top of it. I don't mind it, I guess. I have to thank Lincoln for an awesome plasma cutter. We're rocking. I think I'm going to leave that on there, and the reason being is, what's the reason? Because it don't look bad and it works. What do you think, sweetheart? Keep going? I'm going to weld that one up there along. I'm going to finish welding it up, and then I'm going to call it a night. Anybody can do whatever they want to do, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish welding this up. I got this to weld up around here. I'm going to weld the bottom of this up, and then I'm going to leave it And the reason being is I've got a couple things. I've got to try to find a piece of metal that I want to add this bracket to. I'm going to cut this bracket. I'm going to add something to the front of this, and then I'm going to cut this bracket and add to it, and I'm going to leave it exactly where it is because that's where the front end fits. Simple as that. So let's weld this on. Come on, glasses. I can't, I'm not going to weld it, I'm not going to cut a hole to weld that down over top of that.
Just going to leave it like that.
My huh? I'm going to weld this down through here.
It's a beautiful night here in Nova Scotia. Beautiful. Not as beautiful as Jolene, but it's beautiful. Lots of gap for penetration.
We'll carry on. Let's do this one. So I do not know what the angle is I put in there. I have no idea what the angle is in there. All I did is put it in so it looked good and it worked. That's basically all you have to do. You don't have to do nothing. Just cut it, put a piece there, cut it, make it work.
If it looks good, weld it. If it don't look good, fix it. It wasn't working that good right there, but she sure did weld in nice. Ha ha ha! Whoa, you want to do that? Probably the welder's getting a little hot. Sometimes they get hot. They get fussy. It's like anything, you get a little hot, you get a little sticky.
Wowzers. Put the weld to that one, baby. He put the weld to that one, he did. Anything that looks like a bumblebee, I'll grind it off. Put the weld on that one. Alrighty, I've got a front end put in the car, so it's going to accept that a lot better and give me the ride height I want. So when we cut that bottom of this chassis out, this thing is going to the ground. Then I'm going to have to deal with the back. I already looked at the back and the chassis looks good. It's a beautiful night here in Nova Scotia. Look at the moon. Back at the moon. You know what they say, I used to be a werewolf, but I'm okay now. So I'm very happy with what's going on. Nothing let go, nothing popped off. It's still got, the spacers are just a 5/8 nut. That's all the spacers are right there. I put it on the chassis that was already there. The chassis is not bent, or didn't look like it was bent, and I went with it. Basically, I didn't use no measuring, no special education, no nothing, other than a little common sense. I like the piece that I put in. I looked at that piece and I seen how far it was there. I put the exact same piece on this side. I made two pieces the same. When I take and cut this off right here on this angle, we'll put a, if it needs a gusset, we can put a gusset in there. We can put a little triangle piece in there to hold that and make that better, but we must realize that that's very tight and right there. We'll make sure we weld these on. When we roll this back under, it should fit really good. All right, everybody, if you want to lower your car, you can do it just as well as I did. I didn't do anything that was not that someone else couldn't do. I just basically put a piece up there, I traced it, I cut out a piece, I slid the piece in, now it's welded, I'm going to cut it out. Have a good one, everybody. I love you, Jolene. Let's go have a coffee.